yes. So here we are. So thanks for being here. I'm going to start out with saying Xin Chào means hello. So now you know Vietnamese. And then I'm going to say Cảm ơn rất nhiều. That means thank you very much. So thank you all for being here.
Say it again, David.
Cảm ơn rất nhiều. A few more people might straddle in. Cảm ơn rất nhiều. And then I'll start off with another phrase. Chúc mừng năm mới means Happy New Year. And so anyway, we're going to be talking about the Asian New Year and how they celebrate it a lot. Travels in Vietnam, I kind of ripped off Rick Steves' travels in Europe. And Kara, I want to thank Kara. She's here. She helped design this image here. Hey, Heather. And we're going to be talking about one of our excursions to Angkor Wat, which was in Cambodia. But these two expressions here kind of capture how I feel about travel. To travel was to live. And it's a big world out there. It'd be a shame not to experience it. So we'll get to our excursion to Angkor Wat in a little bit too. Hey, Beverly. Welcome. Just to give a little background information, I met my wife, Lynn, who might be here. She's supposed to be here. I hope she's here. We met by accident in 2009, my first trip to Vietnam. I found out several years later that that trip was, they were trying to fix, these friends of mine were trying to fix me up with one of their relatives. And that relative did not speak English. So we couldn't communicate and didn't have much in common with her, but Lynn was studying English in college. And we were able to communicate a lot, and we formed a bond there, and we did the long distance thing for about 2 years, and she was finally able to get over here on a fiancé visa in 2014. And some of you may have seen a show on A&E called 90 Day Fiancé or heard of it. You literally have 90 days to get married by the time from the time you get over here. And if not, you're supposed to go back to your country of origin. So we got married in August, almost 10 years ago. And since we got married, we had gone over there about every 2 years. Lynn was able to go 1 year in between that, so she was able to go 3 years in a row during one stretch. But then COVID hit, and that restricted our international travel plans for several years. Her mom and dad got to come here for a month in 2019, right before COVID hit. Yeah, Beverly, you were here to meet them at our party. And then they came over here for 5 months in 2023. And Lynn has a younger brother, Thao. He's the youngest of 6. And his dream has always been to come to the United States, but he can't get a travel visa from the United States Embassy. He was able to get one to go to Canada. And we met with him in April of last year, or April 2023 in Toronto. We spent 10 days with him in Toronto, and here we are in front of Niagara Falls. And this is the closest he's ever been to being in the United States. He was real excited just to see the country across the falls. Does anybody have any idea why younger people have a hard time getting a travel visa?
They don't want to lose them?
Yes, I think so. Whereas her mom and dad were able to get one easily because they have like land and, well, very meager bank accounts, and they have a home. So if they were to decide to stay here, the country would be able to take those things, whereas a younger person doesn't have those things. And so there's always a concern that on a young person coming over here on a travel visa may decide to stay here. Now, since then, he's applying for a work visa, and he thinks that he might be able to bring his wife and his daughter over here next year to work for a year in Alabama at like a fish processing plant. And then after he's here a year, he can apply for a visa to stay here in the United States. So that might be a way to get him in here. So anyway, even though Lynn and I haven't been able to get over there, we have been able to see her mom and dad and see her brother. And we have video calls with them several times a week for long stretches of time. And one of the reasons we wanted to go this time was to meet Min. This is Min on the left, who's 4 years old. That's her nephew that we've never met in person, but we've had a few conversations with him on the video chat. And then this is Cookie. This is her brother Pal's daughter, who's a year and a half old. And we speak to her probably 3 or 4 times a week. We were just on the phone with her yesterday. And I'll tell you a cute story about her a little bit later on, but, well, I'll go ahead and get to it. When we were over there for a month in February, and she had never seen me before. I don't know if she's ever seen a Caucasian person before. It took several weeks before I was able to establish a bond with her, but now, whenever she hears my voice on the phone, she immediately starts doing the head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and then daddy finger, shark doo doo, mommy, shark doo doo. So she goes through that motion whenever she hears my voice in the background, and she gets all excited, and she's dancing, and then she wants me to dance with her, and it's really, really sweet. So this is the Year of the Dragon. Another reason we wanted to go in February is because they celebrate their new year, which is a really big event. It takes place over about 10 days. And they close down businesses and stores and factories so that everyone can come home to be with their family. So it's a real efficient way for us to see all of her relatives. You know, we don't have to travel too far because everybody's concentrated. And this is the dragon, yeah, that's right there if anybody wants to take a look at it. I don't think Beverly or Heather have seen that yet.
Now, why do they pick a dragon or whatever each year?
Well, it's based on the Asian astrological calendar, so every year it's a different animal. Like Year of the Rat, Year of the Monkey, for example. If you ever go into an Asian restaurant, they'll show, like on the menu or on the placemat, they'll have all of the animals. So this just happened to be the Year of the Dragon.
So it repeats itself?
Every 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, since it's kind of an informal crowd and I know everybody, if anybody has any questions or comments or reactions, feel free to share them. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about the journey over there. We fly from Louisville to Chicago. It's about a 2-hour flight. There's like about an hour layover in Chicago. And then the longest leg of the journey is from Chicago to either Tokyo or Seoul, South Korea. It's anywhere from a 13 to a 14-hour flight. And they feed you and give you snacks and give you drinks, and they have like little built-in television monitors in the seat in front of you so you can watch movies. And I don't mind the long trip. I can catch up on some of my reading and check out some foreign movies I've never heard of before just to kind of explore. So when you land in Tokyo, there's like a 6 or 7 hour layover, and then you go on to the last leg of the journey where you fly to Ho Chi Minh, which is a 7-hour flight. So by the time we leave Louisville around 7 in the morning, and then we go, hey, Michael, come on in. And then we go, this is my Uncle Mickey, Uncle Michael Boone.
Uncle Mickey.
We go 12 hours ahead. So we leave around 7 a.m. Louisville time. By the time we get there, it's around midnight. And it's really hard to sleep, too, when you're going forward in time that way. Some people are able to sleep, but I have a hard time. Plus, I'm excited to get there. And you need to have a visa in order to get into Vietnam. A passport is just issued by the United States, and the United States is giving you permission to travel wherever you want. but the receiving country may require a visa, and a visa is sometimes required to keep track of who's coming into the country, what your business is, how long you're going to be there, where they can contact you. And it costs about $70 or so, and you send it to the Vietnamese embassy in Washington, D.C., and they usually get back to you within a week. And the gentleman that I was corresponding with, he inquired whether or not Lynn is a United States citizen now, which she is. She got citizenship in, I think it was like 2 years ago. Yeah. And so because she's a citizen now, we can get a visa for 5 years, which is great. Usually you can only get them for a couple of days, weeks, or maybe a month at the most. And then the next time you travel, you have to go through all the rigmarole and the paperwork all over again. But now we got a 5-year visa for both me and her, which is just wonderful. And so we land. And as soon as we land, Lynn is communicating with her youngest brother, Thao, this gentleman who's real tech savvy. I relied on him so much during our time there. And she immediately let him know that we landed and gave him an estimate when we were going to get out there. We had to go through like customs and security and passport and visa check-in. It's a long process. We had to pick up our luggage. And you can see there's 2 U-Haul boxes here. They're medium size. Every international passenger is allowed up to 100 pounds of check-in luggage. So we have a tradition that leading up to going to the airport, sometimes we're up till 2 or 3 in the morning weighing these boxes to make sure they're not over 50 pounds. You know, we try to get them out at like 49.999 pounds. And we fill them up with whatever Lynn thinks will make her family's life better. So that might be clothes, toys, dry food products. Her mom loves Jell-O and gum. Her dad and her uncles love Zippo lighters. And then we bring a lot of stuff for all the kids too, like candies. And I meant to point out on this flight, you'd think that it might just go straight across like this, but because the Earth is a sphere, it's actually shorter to take this route. Okay? And so, you know, we're flying over Alaska, and sometimes we can see the snow and the glaciers and everything. It's really beautiful. But when we land with all of these goodies, it kind of makes me feel like we're Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. And when we get there, there's so much excitement. You know, everyone's, well, I think they're happy to see us, but they're also very happy to see all these gifts. So, anyway, this is our route to her mom and dad's house. There's the airport in Ho Chi Minh. This route here is like an interstate, you know, like I-65. And then here, it's kind of like Hirschborn Lane. It's like a 4-lane highway with a lot of traffic lights. Here's kind of like a LaGrange Road, and her mom and dad actually live right here. They live in such a small village, it's not even on the map. You know, they live on a farm. It's way out in the country. And you remember the last time I did this? I said back in the day, and then my mind went blank. I couldn't figure out.
No,
okay.
because I have no memory.
Well, back in the day, we used to have a convoy of motor scooters with her family to get home. And motor scooters have their own dedicated lanes, and the speed limit's a lot lower for motor scooters. But since the last time we were there, her youngest brother and his wife, they've been able to purchase a very nice vehicle that can comfortably seat 8 people in it. And so now when we drive back, it takes a lot shorter, and it's more comfortable. It has air conditioning. Neglected to say, when we got out of the airport, there's thousands and thousands of people all there to greet their families and their relatives, and it's like a rock concert. There's so many people there. And when you get out, you get hit with a very intense, like, wave of heat and humidity. So anyway, it was very, very nice to be able to drive back in her brother's vehicle. And this kind of shows, again, her parents live like just northeast of this lake. And these are like 2 villages. We'd go to Soi Ne and Na Yao, like to get food or go to a cafe or go to the grocery store. Each one of those villages is about 20 minutes away from where her mom and dad live. And this is a satellite shot showing her mom and dad's house. This is one of her brother's homes, one of her sister's homes, and this is another brother's home. This is like a cow barn. So you can see all the verdant green pastures where they raise crops, and we'll get to what kind of crops they raise later on. The first thing that happens when you land and get home is you want to take a shower because you've been wearing the same dingy, dirty clothes for like 26, 28 hours. And so we want to change into some clean clothes. And then her family, this is us right after we landed. You know, I'm unshaven there. This is what I look like after not shaving for about 28 hours. And this is the vehicle that her brother drove. This is a vehicle one of her other brothers drives. This brother and this brother both live and work in Ho Chi Minh, which is one of the largest cities in Vietnam. It's like a New York City or Chicago. And her family that weren't at the airport, there were people that remained at her mom and dad's house, and they were all there to greet us. And this is about 2 o'clock in the morning, their time. And they had a great big meal for us, and they're all excited. And this is Cookie here. First time I'd seen her face to face, and again, maybe the first time she's ever seen a Caucasian person. But she's really checking me out, like, who is this guy, and why is he at my grandma's house? Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the Asian New Year and how it's celebrated. Does anybody have any questions or comments so far?
When you guys arrived in the past when you went, how did you get to the farm?
That's a good question.
Thank you. I like asking good questions.
You're welcome. Hong Kong Shi. That means you're welcome.
Dan, what is the temperature over there compared to here?
They live not too far from the equator, and it's about like 92 to 98 degrees during the day on a daily basis.
All year long?
Yes.
Wow.
There's like a rain season where the temperature goes down a little bit, but usually there's the whole month we were there was no rain at all.
Do they have air conditioning?
I think the very, very nice palatial homes do. Their mom and dad, they've got like window units. We're going to show what their house looked like 12 years ago compared to where it looks now. And then they use a lot of fans. But Ann, to answer your question, when we first started going over there, there was like a convoy of those motor scooters. And we'd get to maybe within a mile of her mom and dad's house, and then we'd have to go on foot the rest of the way. And we'd have to go through very thick vegetation. It was almost jungle-like. And then we'd have to walk through a rolling stream that was about 10 feet wide.
How'd you get those 50-pound boxes?
Yeah.
You just put them on the back of the scooters and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man,
I would hear that they can carry all kinds of stuff.
when we get to the end of this, I've got a series of photos that I got off the internet of people carrying things on motor scooters. Well, you may have seen it from the last time. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've seen people carry cows on a motor scooter, refrigerators on a motor scooter, families of 6 to 7 kids on a motor scooter, a single motor scooter. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is talk about the Asian New Year, Tet. These are some what are called lucky money envelopes, and I passed them around. Hopefully everyone got one. They have what's called lucky money inside. That's authentic Vietnamese money. If you wanted to spend it at the Asian market in Louisville, you're welcome to. You might be able to get a couple of watermelon seeds from it. So you're not going to be able to get much from it. But the idea is like you give it to people to like bestow prosperity and well wishes, and hopefully that money will turn into something greater during the year. It's called lucky money. And they're in these very beautiful, colorful envelopes. The gold or yellow envelope or color represents like prosperity and wealth, and then the red represents like good luck and fortune and things like that.
Daniel, do you know what this says on here?
It probably says, no, I don't, Fran. I thought it would say Chuck Moon Nam Moy. I do not know. Hopefully when Lynn gets here, she can help us out. So anyway, this was at a market we went to soon after we got there to get some Vietnamese decorations for the house. You can see all the red and the yellow. Another thing you do is you get a bunch of flowers, red and yellow flowers usually, to decorate your house. And so we did that too. We went to, I think this was in Nai Yao. We went to one of those villages. And from left to right, this is her mom. This is her sister Nan. That's Nan's mother, Lynn's sister Jang. That's Lynn, my wife, yours truly. And that's Kun, one of her brothers. And here's just some of the flowers. And some of the flowers were so big, you had to pay people to put them on a trailer, and then they carried them on their motor scooter. Yeah, they're huge. They're taller than the people are. And in Tet, one of the things Tet represents is the arrival of spring, and there's it's called an apricot tree that blooms at this time of the year, and it has this very intense yellow flower. And so that particular plant has great significance for Tet. This is a plant that's just growing on or a tree that's just growing on their farm. And then this is the front of their house where they kind of create a staging area where you take photos with the family for Tet. And then these are decorations we saw that were just in the nearby little villages in Ho Chi Minh, in the bigger cities. It's really, really fantastic. But this is in, I think, Soi Ne or Nai Yao, one of the nearby villages. This is a dragon for the year of the dragon. And that's a wooden dragon. I like this picture a lot because of the way the sunset looks like the sky was just on fire that night. And you can see too how these decorations just kind of recede all the way down the street. I mean, it's forever.
You know what the 30 represented on that?
It's the 30th anniversary of that particular village.
Oh, okay.
And that's the name of there's like this hierarchy I don't fully understand. It's like there's city, province, village, province, town, village, hamlet. And I think this is the name of the village that you see there, and it was their 30th anniversary. And on New Year's Eve, New Year's was February 10th this year. The date varies from year to year because it's based on the lunar calendar. But on New Year's Eve, we went to this, one of the little villages. They had a huge television show with singers and dancers and local celebrities and local politicians, and it was televised. And it was staged very, very nice. You can see here. And there's like some of the communist flags and Soviet or communist symbols there. I mean, even these people that are dancing have that Soviet symbol on. And you can see the television cameras there. And around midnight, they have a fire. No, it wasn't midnight. It was probably around 11 o'clock. They had a fireworks show. Oh, this is us. There were like thousands and thousands of people there. We brought our own snacks and fruit and everything. And it was really funny. I ran into some people I knew here at this event from a visit years ago. And then there's fireworks display. It's not quite Thunder over Louisville, but it was about maybe a 25-minute show, and it was real spectacular. Everybody really enjoyed it. There's our expert. This is Lynn, everybody. Now, there's a Vietnamese tradition that I either wasn't aware of or I'd forgotten about, where the very first person who walks into the home on New Year's Day, it's thought that that person like portends or is a harbinger of what kind of year you're going to have the rest of the year. So they want somebody to come in who's hopefully will bring good luck, who, someone that they like, someone who's kind. So anyway, Lynn asked me to walk into every one of her family's home at 12:01. We went from her mom and dad's house to her brother's house, and then to her brother and sister's house that was right next door to each other. And we went into each home, and I gave them the lucky money, and then I gave them like some words of encouragement or kind of like a blessing that Lynn translated for me. And I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't even know I was going to be doing this presentation when I was in Vietnam. So there's no photographic evidence that this ever happened. So you just have to believe me and take my word for it. However, the last time we were there in 2019, we went there for her brother Pal's wedding, and they gave me the honor of presenting the ceremonial tea tray. We had a procession to the bride's home, and this is like the groom's contingent. That's his family and his friends, the groomsmen back here. And so anyway, I led that procession. It was quite an honor. But that tray has like teacups, saucers, and Lynn, do you want to describe like what's the significance of that tea tray? You don't know? That makes two of us. I could have just made something up and no one would know. But anyway, so anyway, it was along these lines where it was like an honor to do that. So I went into all of their homes and we did that. The next day, New Year's Day, one of the most important things you do for Ted is you honor your loved ones and deceased family members. So you go visit their grave sites, and all of their graves are above ground. And this photo, that's her dad there, and you can see Lynn there. And this morning was super hot. I mean, it was like 7 or 8 in the morning we were out, and it was already probably 95 degrees. And we ran into one of Lynn's relatives that she hadn't seen in several years that was there that day too. So anyway, you go to these grave sites, you bring flowers, you light incense. Here's her brother home lighting some incense, and here's me and her dad lighting some incense at one of the graves. And the homes, each Vietnamese home that I've seen, they have their own built-in like altar. And that's there throughout the year, but for Tet, you bring out like gifts, watermelon, drinks, food for the deceased. We're not supposed to touch that or disturb it at all until after Tet, but during the Tet ceremony, all of that's like dedicated for their deceased loved one. Yeah. It comes back to you. Just interrupt me.
I don't want to interrupt.
No, I don't mind.
Is there a reason why, do they grow a lot of things since it's so hot there? Do they have a lot of fruit? And do they grow a lot of veggies and things like that because it's so hot?
Yeah, we'll get to all of that at the very end. We're going to
And you
show
got food stuff in there too?
in where.
In your talk?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, got a couple funny anecdotes about that too. This gentleman is named An. He lives close to Lynn's mom and dad's house. He's kind of like a wise man and kind of like a priest. And whenever there's a ceremony requiring anything like sacred, he comes over and leads the prayers. And he's got the incense there, and he's going through some chants and things like that. There's a bag of things here that we're going to get to in just a second. And then here's that table of food that's all dedicated for the deceased, and we're not supposed to touch that during the 3 days. Okay. Another Tet tradition is you burn things, and the idea is that these things can go to the deceased in the afterlife. They're things they might need. Apparently it rains a lot in the afterlife, and you've got a bunch of umbrellas there for them. But so anyway, you get things, you burn them, and the idea is that the deceased loved ones can use them in the other life. Here's a group shot of her family. You take a lot of photos. You put on your newest clothes. The women wear what are called aoyais. These are like silk dresses that go all the way to the floor. They have very pretty floral embroidery on them. A lot of times they'll wear these white silk pants that go to the floor, and then the aoyai itself has a little slit, where you can see the white silk pants. And from left to right, this is her brother Hong, this is her nephew Hien, this is her Lynn's sister-in-law Mui. These three are a unit. And then this is her sister Jiang, and her son Dui, and her daughter Nan. Her husband, hey, come on in, Jen, if you'd like.
For a second, I have another story I was covering up.
Yeah, come on in.
So I'll come in for a little bit.
And they're a unit. Their father's not there. Where was Hong that day? Is he back home with his family? Oh, he was working. Okay. And then this is Tao, her sister-in-law, Tao's son Duc, their daughter An, and their daughter Mi. And these four are a unit. This is Tan. His daddy and mommy aren't there. And then this is her brother Bao, his wife Tom, and their daughter Cookie. There's Lynn, and then Lynn's mom. And she's wearing the aoyai there. And Mui has an aoyai on, and Tao has an aoyai on. So you get your pictures taken in front of the flowers. That's part of the Tet tradition. This is the apricot tree that's on her mom and dad's land. You can see the aoyai a little bit better there. And we don't know these people, but this is just a picture I found on the internet of people wearing aoyais. And another Tet tradition is you visit family members and friends all day long, any time of the day. There always needs to be somebody home while other people go out and visit. Someone has to stay home to receive guests. And one of the things you give is these Vietnamese candies. They usually serve a drink. They don't provide a meal because you'd be cooking all day long, so many people come by. So anyway, people come all throughout the day, unannounced. That's just part of the tradition. You go visit family and loved ones. This was a family that we visited on that day. This is one of Lynn's cousins and his kids. They didn't speak English. I didn't speak Vietnamese, but play is like a universal language. And we ended up making paper airplanes and seeing how far they go and seeing who could throw one the farthest. And her cousin here, he carved this watermelon design. You can see there's a dragon here that wraps all the way around the watermelon. And then this is An again. And you can see how tall I am compared to most of the Vietnamese people. Although Lynn's brother, he's unusually tall for Vietnamese, but I usually towered over people. This is one of Lynn's high school friends or grade school friends. Yeah, and her family. They have what's called the dragon dance, where young men, they'll wear a dragon costume, and then they'll go up and down the streets with this drum beat and tambourine music. And then when they're done dancing, they'll try to solicit a donation. So that was kind of cool, seeing that. This photo is very, very interesting and funny. Gambling is illegal in Vietnam. And I was under the impression that gambling was legal. There was a grace period during Tet where you could gamble for 2 or 3 days. And so Lynn asked me one night, this was on New Year's Day, she said, would you like to go to a casino? And I said, sure, because I always like to experience stuff over there. And I thought it was a casino like the one, say, in Las Vegas or Atlantic City or in Elizabeth. And all it is like a cafe where they move all the tables and chairs and put these gambling games on the floor. And then they're usually men, but there's some women, but then the men go, they take their lucky money, because if you can gamble with that lucky money and turn it into something else, you're really going to have a good year. So anyway, at the moment I took this photo, I was under the impression that gambling was, there was a grace period. I found out later there wasn't. This was like illegal. This was illegal activity here that I was documenting with my camera. And you could see this woman here, she's like figuring out what's going on. And she was giving me a look like, you know, you shouldn't do this. And then I could sense and kind of hear a wave of discontent go through that crowd when they saw me with the camera. And I'm surprised that they didn't confiscate it, to tell you the truth. But anyway, I got out of there. Yes. I took a few other pictures from across the street. Thanks, Jen. From across the street where they couldn't see what I was doing. So gambling is part of the fun of TED. They have all of these gambling games at home. Lynn, would you mind pronouncing this for me, Becky? Boku Tonkat. Yeah, it's a game where you lay out this sheet and you've got these 3 die. There's one there, there, and there, and they have 6 sides just like a regular dice. And you put them in a bowl, and then the dealer, he shakes it up and then rolls it out on this mat. And before he rolls it out, you put money down on what you think is going to show up on the die. And so if what you put money on shows up on the die, you get that money from the dealer. If it doesn't, the dealer gets that money. And I love this picture because this is Lynn's family, and you can see how intense they were. I mean, a tornado could have gone through, and I don't think they would have noticed because they were all focusing on, you can see they got money laid out there, and they're all like keyed in on it, totally unaware that I was there taking a picture. And then they have another game similar to bingo. What's that called? Loco. Thank you. And what you do is the dealer, he'll just call out numbers and then you cover it up just like in bingo. This is her nephew, Dwee, who's making out pretty good there. I did not like playing these games because I would always lose my money. And someone pointed out at the last lecture that I was bringing them good luck. So, it worked out. Okay, so we're about to go to another section on some excursions. Anybody have any questions about how Ted's celebrated? Or let me tell you about another. Yeah, Heather?
I was just gonna ask, like, it's a longer period of time, right? Like, it's not just like, we celebrate the New Year and it's like maybe 5 hours, like there, it seems like it's almost like a week-long kind of preparation and celebration.
It's at least a week, isn't it, Lynn? Well, at least 3 days. It's like New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and then the day before New Year's Eve. But yeah, usually it lasts a week.
Because you're like buying flowers, setting out, cleaning, prepping food.
Yeah.
All of it. That's wild. And then the other question I had was just like, when you talk about respecting and memorializing those who passed, is there like is it, I don't know, like, is it specific to just like grandparents, or is it like all family members, like friends that were really close to the family? Like, is there like a designation on like who can be memorialized?
Do you know the answer to that? Heather was asking, like, in terms of commemorating the deceased, is it just relatives or does it also include friends? Yeah, so it's like everybody. Yeah, Fran?
I have a question about that food that was laying out on the table that nobody could touch. Okay, for 3 days? Aren't there bugs? I mean,
Remember the food with when An was doing the blessing? Oh, after he finishes with the prayer. I was wrong, Fran. After he finishes with the prayers. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your concern, but there's bugs there 24/7. It's,
that's why I didn't figure out how you leave out food for 3 days.
well, like the fruit, they would leave out for days, but yeah, like yeah, that makes sense. Like the stuff that was just freshly cooked, yeah, after the blessing and everything, Yeah.
Is there any kind of like specific, like, you know, here we do like, you eat 12 grapes at the cross of midnight, you get good luck. If you do, you know, if you eat pork and beans or whatever, you get good luck. You know, like, is there any kind of like superstitions or like traditions that are kept in place because of like the idea that, I mean, lucky money is probably a good example, but like, is there another one that has to do with like maybe the food that's brought to the table?
Are there special foods that bring good luck that they use at Tet?
Some people do, but my family doesn't care.
Lynn's family doesn't care. She said there is, but her family doesn't care. Jean Marie?
Is there a reason why they're all buried above ground?
Yeah. In the Mekong Delta Valley, they have a real high water table, and kind of like in New Orleans, you know, you'll see grave sites above ground. It has to do with the water level. Yeah.
I was thinking it's so hot. Get out and just sit around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really hot that day too. And then I think the sun was reflected on the marble too, which made it even worse. And a lot of these photos of that you'll see of me, I'm wearing like a long pants and long shirt. And one of my friends asked, well, is it cool there? Is that why you got long sleeves? And no, the idea is you don't want the sun to cook you. So you want to keep covered. In fact, before COVID, when I'd go to Ho Chi Minh, it was traditional for people to wear masks. And that was mainly to keep the pollution, you know, from having to breathe that. But you'd see people wearing gloves, long sleeve jackets, a hat, glasses, a mask, where you can't even see any skin, and that's just to protect you from the intense heat. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So one of our excursions, we went to Ho Chi Minh one day just to go out to lunch and have something to do that was fun, and we ended up going to, it's called Landmark 81. This is the largest building in Vietnam. It's the 17th largest building in the world. Those are some photos I took. This photo I got off the internet. And they have like a light show at night that's really cool too, where the lights kind of cascade up and down and change colors, and they kind of dance around the building. It's really neat. This is me and Nan here at the top. This was the ticket we had to get up there, and this is Lynn and Nan and Tom going down the stairs from the observation deck. I don't know if anybody's been at like the Willis Tower, the old Sears Tower, or the World Trade Center before it went down, or Freedom Tower, but sometimes when you get up in these buildings, you're so high up, you can kind of sense the building swaying back and forth. We were so far up, I mean, you really literally felt like you were in an airplane looking down at the city. You were so far up. So here we're just looking down at Ho Chi Minh. And then another little day trip we went to was to a Catholic cathedral in a village called Ba Ria. It's more like a city, Ba Ria. And it looks just like a Gothic cathedral out of Europe. This was just completed in 2021. And here we are on the inside. And it's got the stained glass up here and like all of these sculptures. And the figures, they weren't Asian at all. They were all like European, Caucasian looking. I think this is a reflection, I don't know this for sure, I think this is a reflection of Western, European and Western American money coming in to promote Catholicism. I think that's what that's a reflection of. But this is the Stations of the Cross that were there. This is the building lit up at night. Really spectacular. One of our first trips outside of Vietnam, or outside of the Ho Chi Minh area, was to Angkor Wat. It was just an hour flight from Ho Chi Minh to Siem Reap in Cambodia. We needed a visa to get into Cambodia that we purchased right at the airport. This was the airport. There was like a sculpture just in the middle of it. This is what the airport looked like. It was like brand new. The Chinese government had just financed the construction of that airport. The original airport to Angkor Wat was about 20 minutes away. This is about an hour away. And Lynn's brother, who again is very tech savvy, he got on an app and was able to contact this guy in Cambodia, I forget his name, but he drove us from the airport to the hotel in what's called a tutu. And this is pulled by a motor scooter, and we're just exposed to the elements, you know, like cars and trucks going past cows, you know. And, so we got a pass to get into Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is the world's largest religious structure. It was built around 1100. Used to be a Hindu temple, and now it's a Hindu Buddhist temple. But if any of you have ever seen the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark or Tomb Raider, that's what it felt like going to this place. So anyway, we got a day pass for that. You could go there for several days or a week. There's about, this is a photo off the internet, I didn't take that, but this shows like the main Angkor Wat complex. And it's not just one complex, there's actually 13 complexes, and that's why it could take a whole week to see it all. We got to see 2 complexes the day we were there. And here we are in front of it. The temple has 4 corners. It's like a square, and then it has this tower in the middle. So it has 5 towers, and each tower it represents like a mythical mountain where the gods reside. And this tower, the main one in the middle, is over 200 feet tall. Here I am here walking towards it.
Do you have any idea how old that is?
Yeah, it's about let's see. It was built like in the 11th century, so it's about 1,000 years old. Yeah. So this is one of those corner towers. This is just a close-up of some of the statuary on it. These are some other images. This was another of the complex. It's called Ba Kong. I actually like this one better because it wasn't near as crowded. There was only just a handful of people there. You can see some of the statues, how intricate it is. I mean, this is over 1,000 years old, you know, you can still make that out. And in this photo here, I'm actually probably about 70 feet above ground there. A chap from Canada took that photo for me. These are just some of the other ruins there. Another excursion we went on was to Ha Long Bay, which is just, it's in North Vietnam, just below China. And I didn't take this photo, but this is something I got off the internet. This shows kind of what it looks like on a sunny day. There's a bunch of these, like they're called islets, that stick out of the water. And it really is a magical place. This was the hotel we stayed at. It's called the Vin Pearl. It was on an island, like a standalone island. And this is a back image of the hotel that we stayed at. There was hardly anybody there, so we got like a really great discount on it. There was no one there because it was after Tet, and everyone went back to work. You know, everyone had done all their celebrating and had to get back to real life, and so we got to go here at this time, and there was like hardly anybody there, so it really worked out nice for us. This was the cruise ship we went on. It's called the Sea Octopus. And this is like the itinerary there where they feed you, and they have music and snacks, and it was like a 7-hour tour. This is kind of what it looked like on the ship. This was a photo I took of where they fed you. I encountered something there I'd never encountered before. When it came time to eat, a lot of the people that were on this tour were from China, and I don't know if this was part of the Chinese culture, but they made a mad rush, where it's like, if you happen to be standing in the way, it's like, too bad, you were going to be a casualty. But the food was real good. And these are some photos I took. It wasn't very sunny that day, but you can still kind of get the majesty and how beautiful it was there. This is called Titov Island, named after a Russian cosmonaut, Titov. And there's an outlook here at the very top. And Lynn and her brothers, two brothers, stayed down below, walked along the beach and the sand, whereas I went ahead and went up to the top. I always want to see like what's on the other side of something, like what's inside this building. And when I got all the way up there, all it was like a little snack stand, you know, after all that work. And I felt sorry for the people that struggled to get up there. I mean, a lot of people didn't make it because it was so steep, you know, and they had to stop and rest. This is the view from that top there looking out. And it's real famous for the sand. It has like some of the prettiest sand in Vietnam. And this is a photo of my lovely wife Lynn there that I thought came out really nice.
We've got a model.
Her brother took that photo on his iPhone. And while we're on the sea octopus, you can pay for like 2 mini excursions. One was to Titov Island, and another was to, it's called Surprise Cave, also known as Sun Coat Cave. When the French who occupied Vietnam in the early 1900s, when they found it, they called it the Cave of Surprises because the way the water reflected on the limestone, it looked like the cave was moving on the inside. So it's like when you looked at it from different angles, there was always like a surprise, and it was really beautiful. So we got on another excursion to go see this cave, which originally was very hard to get to, but they developed it into a tourist site, and now it's very easy to get to. So we paid like for one of these little boat taxis to take us there. It was like a little rowboat. And as we're rowing, we're seeing all these things close up. It's just breathtaking. And here we are. We went with 2 of her brothers, Dao and Hung. They joined us for this trip. And one of the traditions is you invite people to row the boat. And so, you know, when in Rome. So I decided I'd give it a try. And this actually looks like I know what I'm doing, but we're actually going around in a circle over and over again. And the passengers are holding onto the boat for dear life, hoping they get to the cave. No, it wasn't that bad, but no, this was just like a pose photo. I didn't know what I was doing. So we're going towards the cave now, and we're docking. And then this is the inside of the cave. It's massive. And it's similar to like a mammoth cave. And they have a very well lit and walking paths and everything. So that was like an excursion. And there we are with her brothers again. Now, I wanted to show this photo too. This is a waterfall called Pond Gorge. It's kind of in about 7 hours north of where Lynn's family lives. We went there in 2019, but this is a real beautiful waterfall that we got to see. And then there's a city called Dalat that we went to in 2019 where it's a little bit elevated compared to the rest of Vietnam. So it's cool there. When we got there, we actually had to wear jackets. It's the only time I've been in Vietnam where it was so cool I had to wear a jacket. And anyway, this is a real popular tourist destination. They have like flower gardens and a bunch of touristy things. And this was a temple that we just happened to stumble upon where everything's made out of recycled material there. All those colorful things are all recycled glass, and it's really, really fantastic. This photo, by the way, got published in the Courier Journal in their travel section back when they used to have a travel section. This is a temple that's real close to Lynn's mom and dad's house, maybe 15 minutes away. It's a dragon that was there. I happened to be there when they were having like a church service or a temple service. That's what it looked like on the inside. These are just some statues that we saw along the way.
Do you know the symbolism behind all these statues? Like, are they specific?
This is a particular Hindu god. I forgot her name, but I got it written down in my notes. I'll look it up and let
I
you
was
know.
gonna say, I just assume that it probably has something to do with like, prosperity and wealth and things of that nature, but.
Yeah, you frequently see her holding her hand up with the fingers in a particular formation there, and she's also frequently holding like a vase here. I don't know what those mean though.
That's okay, I just,
Yeah. These are just some other statues of some temples we saw along the way. Buddha. This one's kind of cool. This is like a peacock, and then the tail's made out of flowers. That was really neat. This was at another temple not too far. This was a statue to commemorate a battle during the Viet Nam War. This was between her mom and dad's house in Ho Chi Minh. This was real close to her parents' house too. This is another statue monument dedicated to the Vietnam War. You can see some human figures here on the side depicting different battle scenes. This was a very large monument. Yeah, I thought that photo came out real nice. And I want to point out on this one, this is a person here. Yeah, they're massive. They're massive. And in Vung Tau, about 45 minutes from her mom and dad's house, there's a resort city called Vung Tau. American soldiers during the Vietnam War used to go there for rest and relaxation. And they have it, it's called Christ of Vung Tau. This statue is over 100 feet tall. This was from a couple of years ago. You can tell because my hair's darker. And here's a person right here. And you can walk up, there's like a spiral staircase going all the way up to the top. And then they have these iron spikes on each shoulder to prevent people from crawling out on Jesus' arm.
Wow.
I don't need those iron spikes to tell me to do that, but this is a photo I took from that arm, like overlooking the South China Sea there. And these are just some other churches and temples near her mom and dad's house. This was a Hindu temple in Ho Chi Minh, very colorful. This was a statue in Bahria, depicts a young child on a horse who led a battle. It's like a mythological story. And then this gentleman, I don't know if y'all remember, in 1963, there was a monk who set himself on fire to protest the government of Vietnam at the time. He was trying to bring attention to how the Buddhists were being mistreated. And this was a statue depicting that. And I want to give him his due and pronounce his name correctly.
They show that on television.
Yeah, it's a real.
Upsetting.
It's a very upsetting photo. I didn't want to show that because there might be children here, but his name was Thich Quang Duc. You could easily look it up. That photo won a Pulitzer Prize, and it also led to that government leader's downfall. This is a statue of Ho Chi Minh in Ho Chi Minh Square in Ho Chi Minh. It used to be called Saigon. Now, we're moving into the last section of the presentation. And can you tell me what time it is?
It is 3 o'clock.
Okay. So we got about another 10 minutes here. We're going to be talking about life on Lynn's mom and dad's farm. This is the house they used to live in around, when I first met Lynn in 2009. And it was an amalgamation of several different materials, like found wood, corrugated steel. Some of the rooms had tiles. Some of the, like the kitchen had, it seemed like it may have been mud or dirt on one of the walls. And this is the house Lynn grew up in. And due to Lynn's generosity and her hard work over here, they now have a very beautiful house. We'll see what it looks like during the day. This is what it looks like at night. It's a real nice modern house with a lot of living area, living space. They built like a cover on it to kind of extend the living space and to combat that intense sun. This is the house during the day. This is the front entrance. Hanging out in hammocks. So how a lot of people spend the day and deal with the heat. You fall asleep in a hammock. Her dad is a farmer and he's an excellent gardener, and he's growing a whole bunch of flowers and fruits over here on the left. This is her brother Hoong's house, and this is only maybe about 50 feet away from her mom and dad's house. This is her brother Hoong's house here and her sister Jang's house here. And these houses are maybe 200 feet away from her mom and dad's house. This is some of the furniture in her mom and dad's house. It's intricately carved.
Do you know what kind of wood?
I do not.
Do you know green?
You know what kind of wood it is? I'll look into that. Try to find out. It is. It's beautiful. This is the room we stay in. This right here is just a foam mattress about this thick. Her mom and dad got this for us before there was no mattress. It was just a very thin layer of bamboo that you unroll. And that's usually what they sleep on there, or they sleep on the floor. The floor is actually cooler on a tile floor. When I first went to Vietnam in 2009, there was another family nearby that I stayed with. They would put up, there was like a mosquito tent net that surrounded my bed to keep the mosquitoes out. And this is where her mom and dad stay. There's a motor scooter parked right in their bedroom. This is a tile floor from their original house. And here's that bamboo mat I was referring to before. And there's their new kitchen. All right, one of the foods that they grow, this is what's called jackfruit. It's massive. Each one probably weighs, I'd say, between 25 and 35 pounds. And when you open it up, it looks like this. It's like real chewy. It has real chewy consistency. So her mom and dad grow that. I was there one day when somebody came in a truck to load these things. These things you can't really, you could carry them on a motor scooter, but they're so heavy that you actually need a truck to transport them in. And so her mom and dad, that's one way they make money, is to sell jackfruit. This is her mom on a ladder picking pepper. And then you put the pepper like on a big blanket or canvas, and then you dry it out. And this is another product that they sell. You'll see that her mom's wearing this circular hat, which is called a non la, thank you. Jean Marie and my sister Ann already have one of these, but I will, Melanie, before you pass that down, before you show Ann, I want to tell you all something about it. If you hold this up to the light, you'll see there's like a real pretty art decoration on the inside. I don't know how they do that, but it's exquisite. So anyway, it's common to see people wear those in Vietnam. They serve several purposes. They keep the water off, they keep the sun off, and it completely surrounds your neck and head. You know, like if you wear a baseball cap, your neck's going to be exposed, but it looks good on you, Nikki. Carla, you're a natural there.
No redneck.
Exactly, no rednecks. Lynn frequently encouraged me to wear these when I work out in the yard. Sometimes I do, but I'm not used to them, and they bump into things, like when I'm pulling weeds or working around the trees or something.
And you said they're bamboo?
They're made out of bamboo and banana skin, I believe. What is it?
I don't know what it's called, but it's special needs.
Special leaves?
Yeah, it's not banana.
Okay, not banana, sorry.
You have to have the wasp nest on $1 on the side.
What's that?
Is that a $1?
I don't know. Oh, that's a wasp nest on one of them. That must be recent, because that wasn't there on May 25th. Are there any wasps in it, Michael? I hope not. Gosh. So her mom's working out in the farm too, just like her father and her brothers are. This is a papaya that they grow. This is a fruit that they grow called chum chum. Now chum chum, when you bite into it, it has like this outer layer that almost looks like it has fur on it. But once you pierce the skin, there's like a meat. It's almost the consistency of a grape, and then it has a very large seed in the middle. And this is another product that her mom and dad will sell at the market. Here's her brother Coom opening up a coconut right there on their land. Now the chum chum wasn't ripe when we were there. These photos here were just recently shared with me mainly from her sister Nan, or her niece Nan, and her brother Coom shared these photos of the chum chum. And here's Hung up in a chum chum tree picking it. It's a family affair, harvesting the fruit. That's her two sister-in-laws, Pal and Lee, and her mom. And there's her dad wearing a U of L hat. I tried to convert him. We're getting ready to send another care package over, and we've got a new U of L hat for him. And here I am trying to help harvest a fruit called tamarind. Heather, how do you know about all these? Have you been to Vietnam?
No, but I ain't of interest either. I do like, what do you call it? The seeds with the spikes on them? What are they called again?
Chum chum.
Chum chum, yeah. Those, they do have a very like great texture to it. But I'm really surprised that they harvest them like without gloves, because they're not like the easiest thing to like hold on to. So yeah. But dragon fruit's great, or not dragon fruit, but jackfruit's really good because you can use it as like a meat substitute.
Yeah.
It can be savory or sweet, which I always thought was great.
That's neat.
And yeah, tamarind, I mean, if you don't know what that is, you should definitely check it out. 'Cause it's
Yeah, this
really
is
good.
tamarind right here. When I eat it, it reminds me of a banana
Yeah.
a little bit.
I've never had that.
And her family, from previous visits, they know I love watermelon. So when I got there, the very first day we were there after we got home from the plane, I got greeted by this. This was like, they got this for me.
Did you eat them all?
I shared some of it. I shared this one, but the rest. And then up here is dragon fruit, also known as tan long. They remembered that I like that too, so they got these for me.
Can you buy red here?
Yes, you can. It's very expensive here, but Kroger carries tan long, and
Trader Joe's.
yeah, Trader Joe's has it.
How do you eat it?
It doesn't have as much.
It's kind of like a mango, right?
Well, mangoes, you spend so much time and energy and effort trying to work around that big seed in the
That
middle.
seed, yeah.
These, they just, well, Beverly, let me show you. This right here, this is what it looks like on the inside. It's either white or red. And all those little black things are seeds, but they're very easy to chew and digest.
Artichokes are better comparison. You almost feel it. You know what I'm saying?
And they also remembered that I like mango, so they had bags and bags of mango for me, and boy, it tasted so good over there. Oh my goodness. This is her sister-in-law, Hung, and that night we were cutting bananas off the banana tree. All these things are on their land, and here I am trying to contribute. If you want fish, you go out to the pond that's maybe 80 feet from her mom and dad's house, and you go in there and you cast a big net. This is her brother Kung and her brother Tao, and there's the net, and then you have fish for dinner that night. Doesn't get any fresher than that. And that's her sister-in-law Mui, who's cleaning the fish. This is her niece Ann, her nephew Duke, her niece Nan. And there's Lynn and her sister-in-law Hung sitting by the pond where the fish are. This is a city dog that we took care of while we were there. His name's Leo. One of my traditions was to take Leo out for a walk several times a day. And they have chickens on the farm. Yeah. Here's the cow barn here. And those are the cows. And while we were there, one of the cows gave birth to a calf, which was kind of cool. That's her brother Hung working in the cow barn. And her brother Kung raises goats. And here's a picture of Tao, her sister-in-law, Duke, An, and me. We're always looking for an adventure and a reason to go out and do something. I mean, when Lynn comes home, it's like the kids get to do a lot of fun stuff they don't normally get to do. And so we're always looking for something fun to do. And anyway, Lynn asked me one night, is there anything you want to do tonight? And I said, remember that pond or that lake we went to, whatever year it was? I said, I'd like to go to that lake again. And I thought just me and Lynn and maybe one of her brothers were going to hop on a motor scooter and go to the lake. Well, next thing I know, like within minutes, we had 15 people going to that lake. And you can see the women and the wives and the sister-in-laws and Nan, they all have their pajamas on. And so anyway, we all went out there. It was fun. This is a photo of the lake that I took several years ago. This was a long exposure. And I used like a photo editing program. All this was dark. All this was black. And I was able to bring out the light. This was, the moon was out. And so that's what gave it all that light and came out beautiful. So we went to see that lake again. And then afterwards, we went to a little cafe afterwards. It was like a real nice, fun outing, just spontaneous. Another outing we did is we went to a beach one day. And this is really cool too, because some of the nieces and nephews and even some of the in-laws have like never been in the ocean before. So it was really special that they got to do that.
How far were you from
This beach that we went to was maybe like a 50-minute drive. Yeah, wasn't bad. And I don't know if Duke had ever been in the ocean before, but he was really happy about it. And again, like we're all wearing shirts. Again, it's to keep the heat off. This was from a few years ago. They had a goat farm that we all went to that was kind of neat. Another night we went to a cafe that had a koi fish kind of theme to it.
Are they expensive over there? They're expensive.
The koi?
Koi.
Are they expensive? Yeah, Lynn thinks so. These though weren't like for purchase; they were just to admire at that cafe. And here's like a group shot of us at that koi cafe. This is some of the wall decor at that cafe. Lynn's sister works in a cafe near a temple. I should have brought a bag of the herbs. I forgot. But at this temple, they have, I guess you'd call him like a doctor, maybe? Yeah, he holds your wrist, and he'll diagnose what's wrong with you, what kind of medical conditions you have just by touching your wrist. And then they'll prescribe a concoction. Oh, these are some monks that were praying at the temple, right at this, what I'm talking about here. They'll use a concoction of all these different herbs and plants and tree limbs that are shredded, and according to how he diagnoses you, there's a team of volunteers that will, by prescription, they'll pick up whatever herbs are needed, and it's kind of like a prescription. And you have to wait maybe about 45 minutes or an hour or so to have your order filled. And while you're waiting, her sister Jang here works in a cafe where people will eat or drink, while they're waiting to get their order filled. This photo's kind of neat. All three of these people are looking at their iPhones, But you can see all the hammocks there. and it's covered, you know, so again, you're out of the heat, you can sleep, and,
Daniel, did you get diagnosed when you?
you know, I didn't, but I should have. I don't understand how it works. I'm kind of an empiricist and a scientist, and it's a mystery to me how it works. But Lynn, she vouches for it, and she's got a lot of accounts and anecdotes from family members and friends who have taken these herbs. You cook them, and then you drink like the liquid that runs off from cooking the herb. And Lynn drinks it 2 or 3 times a day.
Actually, my brother can, have a cancer, and he got some tumor. And the doctor said he need to have surgery, but after he took the couple months, and now the doctor said he don't need the surgery, the tumor gets smaller.
Do you mind if I share that with
Yeah,
the group?
I
'Cause
just moved today.
you just heard today?
Yeah.
Wow. Earlier, there was a photo of her nephew, Ton, and his mom and dad weren't there. Both of them are dealing with cancer. They're only in their early 30s. And Lynn just shared that her brother, Jang, who has thyroid cancer and then a growth on his shoulder, a tumor that was spreading. He went to this guy and got diagnosed and has been drinking this mixture of herbs, and now he's much better.
It gets smaller, and he doesn't need surgery.
The tumor got smaller, he doesn't need surgery anymore.
They're doing that over here too.
Actually,
It's just starting here.
he helped with many people that have cancer. The doctor give up. They say they cannot help them anymore. So he saved them for many years actually by taking the herbs. Yeah.
She's saying that this doctor who does this has been saving people for many years. There's a lot of anecdotal accounts of people who are alive now because of what this guy's doing with the herbs.
Because he say he just touched the place for 30 seconds. He doesn't know like what the doctor said. Even he didn't do anything to touch it. And it's amazing.
Yeah, he'll diagnose
Yeah.
people, even though doctors have done diagnostic tests and haven't been able to find out everything that this guy comes up with. Yeah, Kara?
Yeah, so, if you drink a mixture also, do you stock up while you're there, or is there some place locally that you can purchase what you need?
Kara asks if we stock up there, if there's someplace here to get what we need. Kara, those U-Haul boxes, we also bring them back. And we're allowed to carry 100 pounds each on the way back. And so how many boxes did we fill with herbs coming back? Two of those medium-sized boxes were filled with herbs, and we're getting low on them now. And her dad's getting ready to ship another box to us.
Does customs have any problem with the herbs coming in?
No, as long as you specify what it is, and yeah, and apparently they're familiar with the concept, because sometimes when you bring in things by bulk, they want to know if what are you doing with it? Are you trying to rip somebody off or whatever? But these, no, we've never had a problem with that. So these people that are working here, they're all volunteers.
Yeah.
That's
Are they the same herbs as here?
no.
No,
they
totally different?
Yeah, they got different herbs.
Yeah, they're different herbs. They're unique to Vietnam.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So let's see. This was just another outing we had. We went out for breakfast together. You can see how the family loves doing stuff together. Whenever Lynn's, well, I'm sure they do at other times too, but when Lynn's in town, it's cause for everyone to stop what they're doing and spend time together with us. This was a little cafe we went to that had an island theme that was really cool. And again, it was only maybe 15 minutes away from her mom and dad's house. That's Nan there. And these are some flowers that I just saw in her family's, or mom and dad's house. Okay, I want to share a little story about this girl. This is one of Nan's cousins. We had dinner together at her relative's house, and I loved her dimples, and she was just really sweet. This little girl, ice cream is a real treat over there, and usually I don't see a lot of Vietnamese treating themselves to those luxuries. They mainly spend their money on necessities. But when we were there, we went to this little cafe or a little grocery store that's about 15 minutes away, and we'd stock up. We'd go here where this ice cream bin, and we would stock up on like 30, 40, 50 ice creams, individual ones, to bring home to her family, and they'd only last like 2 or 3 days. But it was like a real treat. And the people that ran this store, they loved seeing us because they knew a big order coming in. So anyway, this little girl came in with her mom, and she had like a Captain America folder. And I thought, hey, this kid's pretty cool, because I'm like a comic book nerd. And so I knew just enough Vietnamese to say hello to her and wish her a Happy New Year. And she looked up at her mom like, is it okay if I say hi to this guy? And her mom said, yeah, I don't know what her mom said, but you could see her mom was encouraging her. And so she said something back. And so I gave her an ice cream and got this picture with her, which I thought was just really sweet. She was really happy. Yeah. And the last day we were there, I decided it would be fun to go to An and me and Duke's school. I'd never been to it before, to just kind of surprise them and let them know I'm thinking about them. And I thought it might be special for them. And this is like the school. It like wraps around like a U, and this is the courtyard in the middle. And you can access the classes walking down these hallways, like all around in that U shape. And so normally Lynn's dad brings the 3 kids home, and they can fit them all on one motor scooter. But since I was there, we needed an extra motor scooter. So Lynn's brother, Coom, took me. And apparently he had never been to this school that his kids were at. And so we were walking along these hallways trying to find what classroom the kids were in. And this is way out in the country, so a lot of these kids had never seen a Caucasian, especially one who was as tall as I was. So each class we walked by, you could hear the excitement as these kids were like trying to figure out who I was, why was I there, what was my purpose. So anyway, we finally found An. The school day ended not with a school bell, but with a drum, like bong, bong, and then all the kids went running out. It reminded me of Walmart on Black Friday. It was just a stampede of children. And so I had this picture taken with An, but around us was about 50 kids, and they were just all buzzing with excitement. And so after this photo was taken, I looked at them and I went like this. Yeah. They're all like giving the peace sign. And there's An. There, she's real happy. They were approaching me saying like, what's your name? Where are you from? And one kid asked me, why are you so tall? They were all like wanting to practice their English, so it was really sweet. And then this is the night before we flew back. We had a big dinner. And as my lecture reaches its sunset, we got some sunset photos here. What was his name?
Leo.
That's not Leo. This is somebody else. Monk?
It means ink. He black like ink.
Black like ink. Yeah, so his name was Monk?
Mug.
Monk.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Monk. He was real friendly. Yeah, that photo I just got a little low to get some of like the wheat there and the clouds. It came out real nice. And so we're flying back, and we got these 2, each one of us has these 50-pound boxes of stuff to bring home. And Lynn, she got her hair cut while we were there. And so anyway, this is Come On Right View. Thank you very much. One of the people that are here, Heather, took care of one of our cats while we were gone. Holy cow, I've seen cows on these things too. And this is like a typical day in Ho Chi Minh on the motor scooter. Oh.
Did you ever adventure
I've never driven a motor scooter. I've thought about driving her brother's vehicle because it's just like a American vehicle. In fact, it was a Mitsubishi? Mitsubishi. But the rules of the road over there are so different. When I say rules of the road, it's just, they're like minor suggestions. Like people, you'll see people drive against traffic. Some people drive a motor scooter on a sidewalk. The flow of traffic. If you've got on YouTube, I wanted to embed a YouTube video showing like a typical intersection in Ho Chi Minh. It's almost balletic in terms of how they do it, but I would be too anxious, Beverly.
So when you guys went to little places 10 minutes away or 15 from her parents, did you walk?
No, her brother, Thao, with his nice vehicle, he was off work that whole time we were there so we could drive us around. Or we would go on motor scooters. But Beverly,
Somebody else driving.
yes.
Well, Lynn drives a motor scooter, don't you?
But I haven't been for a long time. I'm afraid now.
Yeah, she used to drive a motor scooter when I first met her. Beverly, I thought about driving the vehicle just to experience it and say I drove in Viet Nam, but even driving in the country, there's like these unwritten rules you really have to observe. Like if there's like a blind turn, those roads weren't built for vehicles, they were built for motor scooters. But as their economy's gotten better, more and more people are driving vehicles now, which wasn't the case when I first started going over there in 2009. So when you're driving in the country and there's like a blind turn, you're supposed to honk the horn to let the motor scooter know you're coming. There's rules about going through intersections, and I just didn't want to risk our safety with that. I had these on here because her brother, who's real tech savvy, he was able to get these games on TV through the internet, the Super Bowl and the NBA All-Star game for me. And it was really cool because they didn't have commercials. You got to hear what was going on in between the commercials, like the commentators talking about other stuff, it's not related to the game. That's a 2-2. But anyway, that's all I've got. Does anybody have any other questions? Or yeah, Beverly?
I do. I was wondering about the weather, like especially like around where Lynn's parents live. Are there monsoons or floods, or what kind of challenges might they experience weather-wise?
The whole time we were there, it didn't rain once. They do have a rainy season. But just a few weeks ago, there was flooding in Ho Chi Minh where, it was like people were walking in the streets with water up to here. But we didn't experience any of that.
I remember you said you were talking about the cemetery, the burial areas, and the water table was very high.
Yeah.
So, but at Lynn's parents' home, do they have to deal with flooding where they live?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm concerned for what's going to happen over there as the globe continues to get warm and the water levels rise, because Ho Chi Minh's like right on the South China Sea.
It's supposed to go 6 inches higher. The ocean's gonna be 6 inches higher.
Wow. So
It's
anyway.
gonna change a lot of lives.
So there may be some flooding in the future, I don't know. Does anybody else have any questions I could try to answer for you? Well, thanks you all for coming, I appreciate it. And thank you. And did everybody get one of the Lucky Money? And if we've got extra, if you want to take some home to your kids or grandkids, you can get all you want. How's your business? I don't know if you'd like that more. Okay. Yes.
That's the wording that we were looking for. What does that mean?
Then there was a question on what this.
It's mean like the word like it's like healthy, wealthy, and safety. Yeah.
Healthy, wealthy, safety.
Banners in one of your photos too. You had the picture and the banners all had that wording on it.
Like a good wishes.
Yeah.